Good, happy Wednesday morning, April 6th, 2022. I'm Riley King. Welcome to this Wednesday morning edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to for this Wednesday morning, so let's get started right now. First up, Executive Council to vote on first phase of Everett Turnpike widening. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Rated, everyone turn it up. Become a hero and rise up to save the galaxy in the biggest Lego game ever.
Tomorrow, the Executive Council is scheduled to vote on the first project to widen the Everett Turnpike south of Manchester. If approved, a third lane in each direction would be added between the Bedford tolls and the 101-293 interchange. And this being the Granite State means a lot of rock is going to be moved during this project. The Everett Turnpike carries a lot more traffic today than when it first opened in the 1950s. Now, DOT is preparing to widen the remaining two-lane sections between Manchester and Nashua, starting with a section north of the Bedford tolls.
We're very excited about this project because it's actually the first of a series of about 4 major construction projects that we're going to be advertising along the corridor.
The biggest challenge for workers will be just south of the River Road underpass.
You'll notice that there's a lot of bedrock that runs along the edges, and we'll need to remove that, and that's going to be one of the most difficult components for the contractor.
That means during blasting, drivers can expect delays.
We will slow traffic down almost to a near stop. They will do the blast. They'll clean the blast up. They will put traffic right back on to the configuration where it was, and then we'll be moving traffic again.
And not just on the Everett. Cars would be stopped on nearby parts of routes 101 and 3 as well. Signs will be up to warn drivers of the blasting closures, which will only happen between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. DOT asks everyone for their patience during construction.
But when it's all done, it's going to be 3 lanes, and the improvement just to capacity and safety is just going to be wonderful.
So if approved tomorrow, construction would likely begin this summer, with the widening completed in the summer of 2024. Work to add a third lane from Merrimack to Nashua will follow.
Okay, there you go on that video and that report. Two drivers seriously injured in Bristol head-on crash. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
2 drivers have serious injuries tonight after a head-on crash in Bristol. Police say it happened this afternoon on Summer Street. It's along Route 104. One of the drivers was taken to Concord Hospital. The other was flown to Dartmouth Medical Center. Investigators believe one of the vehicles crossed over the center line. Anyone who saw this crash should call Bristol Police.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. 2 friends from Bedford help Ukraine refugees in Poland. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
There's more to caring than fast medical attention, just like there's more to a broken arm.
This rented 9-passenger van is filled with stories of hope, of help.
I knew I had to get involved. I couldn't do nothing.
Of 2 friends from Bedford who are in Poland driving refugees from the Ukrainian border to a refugee center nearby.
When you think about what these people have been through, and it rips you apart at times. There have been times where I drop people off and I keep it together, and then I go out to the van and I lose it. It's totally gut-wrenching.
Brian Nolan has been on the ground for 2 weeks. His friend John Fitzgerald joined him a week ago. Every day they coordinate with the agencies in the refugee center to get the food and supplies they need.
We go out, we source those things, we try and negotiate the best price for those things, we buy them in bulk, and then we deliver them the next morning.
Things we often take for granted.
We buy socks. Yesterday we bought 500 pairs of women's underwear. And
today we bought 500 pairs of socks.
Trying their best to bring some sense of normalcy in a time of trauma and uncertainty.
The need is great, and when we leave in a week, there is still going to be the same amount of need.
Well, the two will take their final trip in that van next week and return to Bedford. They say 100% of the donations to their GoFundMe page are going to food and supplies for refugees.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. AG's office says 2017 death of Nashua baby ruled homicide. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
It was February 16th, 2017, when the New Hampshire Attorney General's office says 4-month-old Luna Champagne was taken to an area hospital from an Elm Street apartment that she shared with her parents at the time. Luna was in medical distress.
She was transferred down to Boston, where she eventually died. The Massachusetts Medical Examiner's Office conducted an autopsy and later determined that she was in fact the victim of a homicide.
Luna died of traumatic head injuries. The New Hampshire Attorney General's office did not receive the autopsy report until 2021.
Depending on the case, sometimes autopsy reports take longer than usual. That's especially true when an individual is injured in one state, goes to another state where they eventually pass away.
It's heartbreaking. It really is.
Neighbors of little Luna say they don't remember seeing anything out of the ordinary from that February day.
Being a mother myself and having young children, it's scary. To be able to being next door to a child that is now being ruled a homicide case brings up a lot of emotions.
Investigators are asking anyone who may have known Luna or her family to call Nashua Police.
Obviously, this is a child that was just about 4 months old, so does not have a long history, but looking for anyone that might have interacted with her or family before she passed away.
Now, it's important to note the family no longer lives in that Elm Street apartment. In the meantime, the Attorney General's office also says that the pandemic played a role in delaying that autopsy report. And tonight, officials are not commenting on any possible suspects. Reporting live in Nashua, I'm Tim Callery, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. New Hampshire TSA officers help service dog with training. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Well, there was a special training session at Manchester Airport today for a prospective service dog.
Coco is getting ready for her final exam, but she still had to work on navigating an airport. So today, she learned how to go through security with the help of TSA. Look at her doing that. Coco passed through the metal detector and was checked over by officers. Coco is so cute.
Oh, man. That's a head turner right there.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Ivanka Trump testifies before January 6th committee. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Ancestry made it really easy to learn about my family's history. Finding
Ivanka Trump testifying before the House January 6th committee for nearly 8 hours today. She was still answering questions late today. And this question tonight, will Americans ever see these interviews by the January 6th committee? Here's our chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Carl, tonight.
She was at her father's side on January 6th, with him backstage before the rally where he told his supporters to fight like hell and to march to the Capitol.
Hi, Ivanka!
Today, Ivanka Trump spent nearly 8 hours answering questions from the January 6th committee. Other witnesses have told the committee that while the Capitol was under attack, she had been urging her father to do something.
We have firsthand testimony that his daughter Ivanka went in at least twice to ask him to please stop this violence.
Her husband Jared Kushner testified last week. According to multiple Trump White House sources, the couple had privately told others they had deep reservations about Trump's efforts to overturn the election. But neither Ivanka Trump nor her husband have said that publicly. And on January 6th, the only public statement from either of them was a since-deleted tweet from Ivanka where she called for an end to the violence, but also called the people who stormed the Capitol, quote, American patriots. It's unlikely that Ivanka Trump will testify when the committee has its public hearings in the coming months, but everything that she said in today's closed deposition was videotaped and will likely become part of the public record. As for what she said, the committee chairman said that unlike some other White House witnesses, she did not take the fifth. She did not invoke executive privilege. She answered their questions. David?
John Carl live in Washington. John, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for...
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this morning edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. Thank you for tuning in and watching. Have a great day, everyone, and goodbye.